Alright, first we're going to review the steps of how to graph a linear equation that is in slope-intercept form, which you want to remind yourself, slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So, first thing you're going to do is you're going to plot your y-intercept. On the y-axis. Remember, that is just your b value. Number 2, you're going to then use your slope to get some more points on your line. Remember, for slope you have m equals rise over run. So you're going to use whatever this m value is, rise over run. And remind yourself that if m is a whole number, like 7, it's that number over 1. So if this is 7, it's 7 over 1. Rise 7, run 1. If your slope is positive, you should be moving up and right, which also means you are going down and left. So we should be looking in this type of direction. However, if your slope is negative, you move up and left, which also means you are going down and right. Because if you are moving negative, that means you are going in one negative direction. My up is positive, but my left gives me that negative. Or here, down is that negative, so I must go right to stay positive on that part, to have one negative. So for those, you would be looking more like this. So I'm going to give you one example. This first one we're going to go through together, and then you're going to do the next 3 on your own. So first one here, I'm going to look first, and I want to plot my y-intercept. So I have y equals mx plus b. B is my y-intercept. I have a plus 3. So I'm going to go up to this 3 on the y-axis, put a point. Then I'm going to look at my slope. I have 2 over 3. Both of them are positive, which means I need to go up 2, right 3. Do that a couple times, and I should come back to my y-intercept and go in the opposite direction, down 2 and left 3. And then from there, you can just draw your line. Make sure you are as close to straight line as possible. Remember, you can grab a ruler if you need to. Oops, I missed a point, sorry. And put your arrows. All right, so like I said, now you're going to try those 3 on your own, and then go check them with the key. If you have any issues or any questions, you're not sure what your y-intercept is, you're confused about your slope, anything like that, please make sure you do ask either a teammate, or if you don't have any teammates, ask your teacher. Once you finish those and check them with the key, continue on. So in lesson 6.1, you learned about point-slope form and how you can graph lines from point-slope form, as well as our slope-intercept form we just talked about. Now we're going to learn about the third form, which is where your equations look like this. ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are going to be some numbers. They don't represent anything on your graph. So it's not like a is my slope or b is my y-intercept, anything like that. They're going to be just 3 numbers. This ax plus by equals c is called standard form. There are 2 ways we can graph equations that are written in standard form. First, you can convert ax plus by equals c into slope-intercept form. Remember, y equals mx plus b. And you can then use that method to graph. You do this by solving your equation for y. And you'll see in a little bit how we can do that. The other method, which is the method we're actually going to start with, is you can very easily find your x and y intercepts. You'd find your x-intercept by plugging 0 in for y and solving for x. That gives you your x-intercept. You could plot that on your graph. And then your y-intercept by letting x equal 0. and solving for y, and then putting that on your y-axis for your y-intercept point. Remember that the y-intercept is where your graph crosses the x-axis. It is at 0, b. This is not the same b as this b. That's why one is capital and one is lowercase. They are actually different b values. The x-intercept is where your graph crosses the x-axis, which is going to be at point A, 0. Once again, little a and big A are not the same. So your y-intercept, you plug 0 in for x, solve for y to get your b value here, and plot it on your y-axis. Your x-intercept, you're going to plug 0 in for y, solve for x, and that gives you your a value here, which you'll then plot on your x-axis. So if you flip over, we'll look at 3 examples together. So we're going to graph them all by finding our intercepts. Okay, so we're going to do 2 of them. We're going to first find our x-intercept. It doesn't really matter which one you start with. We're just going to start with x. Why not? So to find the x-intercept, flip back over here real quick. Find the x-intercepted by letting y equal 0. So in my equation, I'm going to plug in a 0 for y. So I have 2x plus 4 times 0 equals negative 4. Well, what's 4 times 0? 0. So this just goes away. Leaves me with 2x equals negative 4. Well, now you have a nice one-step equation. I have 2 times x equals negative 4. So divide by 2. X equals negative 2, which gives me my x-intercept. The y value was 0 because that's what I plugged in for y. So there's my x-intercept, which I can now go and plot my x-intercept on my x-axis. I go to negative 2 on the x-axis, put a point. Now I'm going to find my y-intercept. Very similarly, except this time since I'm finding y, I'm going to plug 0 in for x. So I have 2 times 0 plus 4y equals negative 4, because that was my equation. 2 times the x value, which I'm plugging in 0, plus 4 times y equals negative 4. Same thing as before. This 2 times 0 is 0. Leaves me with just 4y equals negative 4. Once again, I have a nice one-step equation. I just need to divide by 4. Gives me y equals negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. So my x value was 0. The y value I got was negative 1. So plot that on your y-axis. Since it's your y-intercept, go to 0, negative 1, which means go down to negative 1 on the y-axis. And then draw your line. There's the graph to 2x plus 4y equals negative 4. Okay, let's try this next one. Same thing, I'm going to find my x-intercept. To find the x-intercept, you plug 0 in for y. So I have negative 3x plus 2 times 0 equals 6. And once again, 2 times 0 is just 0, so it's gone. Negative 3x equals 6. Divide by negative 3. X equals 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. So my x-intercept is negative 2, 0. Just a coincidence that those are the same. So I go to negative 2 on the x-axis to plot my x-intercept. Now I'm going to find my y-intercept. So my y-intercept, I'm plugging 0 in for x. And we've already seen if I'm going to plug 0 in for x, that term is going to go away. Leaves me with just 2y equals 6. So there's a shorter step where you can just kind of ignore the x value or the x term and look at the y term since we're solving for y. And then divide by 2. Gives me y equals 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I plug 0 in for x, got my y value of 3. So 0, 3 is my coordinate point. So on the y-axis, I go to 0, 3. And then draw my line. Last one, same thing, x-intercept. Since we're solving for x, I'm going to plug 0 in for y, makes that term go away. 4x equals negative 8. Divide by 4. X equals negative 2. So x is negative 2, y is 0. Seriously, just a coincidence. There's not always negative 2, 0, I promise. Go to negative 2 on your x-axis. Then we're going to find your y-intercept. Since we're solving for y, we plug 0 in for x, makes that term go away. Leaves me with negative 2y, make sure you have that minus sign, equals negative 8. Then divide by negative 2. Gives me y equals negative 8 divided by negative 2 is positive 4. So my x value is 0, my y value is positive 4. So go to 0, 4 on the y-axis. And graph your line.